Yeah, let's just go to Sunday Night Football. We talked about Monday Night Football. Let's just go to the other night game and Sunday Night Football.
Mhm.
Let's talk about Dolphins and Eagles. I expected the Eagles to win this. I expected them to bounce back after their loss to the Jets. I thought the Dolphins, and there was some reasons why. I thought they would have scored a bit more. I know the Eagles defense is good, especially in that front seven. This is the Dolphins we're talking about here. We're expecting high scoring games every week with them, and this is really the second week
Yes.
this season that they played a good defense, and they haven't really showed up against it. You know what I mean?
So I expected a whole lot more out of Miami. This the way that the Eagles played. This is the Eagles team that I believe most people are used to seeing. But despite all that being said, there were a lot of no calls on Philly, where the Dolphins had 10 plus penalties against them for over 100 yards.
Mm-hmm.
There's multiple bad face mask calls that that weren't called. There's a play
Holding.
where the linebacker blitzes up the middle and the linebacker clotheslines him like it's WWE. Like there were at least equal amount of called on the Eagles. That I think threw the game away for Miami. I don't know if y'all saw it, but Mike McDaniel actually put together the
Oh
TikTok video
no,
of
no!
all the calls that didn't get called.
Matt. You got. That's a parody account. You got. That's a parody account.
No, well, whoever it was,
I did see that though.
There's a video out there showing a lot of calls that weren't called against the Eagles that I think ultimately decided the favor of that game.
There was definitely it definitely seemed the refs were more favoring the Eagles in that game, but I don't think it's the reason they lost. I mean, it's a two-score game. Did it help? Yeah, absolutely it helped. But there was definitely some big calls that weren't called, and like Big said before we started recording this, you guys weren't in here. That holding call that wasn't called, that was a sack anyways. So you want him to take the sack
That's
away?
what I said.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, aside from that, but I'm talking about the big calls downfield that should have been DPIs that weren't called. Those were very game-changing calls to be missed. I think if it was a fair game, if the penalties called were fair, I think it's a different outcome. I don't think the Eagles come out on top.
I mean, it would have been fair if Tyreek Hill would have caught that touchdown pass that he dropped. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean,
they
from
they even with the penalties, there was opportunities for them to win this game, and they couldn't.
Oh, absolutely, there absolutely were. But on the flip side, if the penalties were fairly called, I don't think you find yourself in a position of, we could have won this game. I think it's a position of, how much do we win this game at that point?
I just don't see it. I don't see it. I think the Eagles have shown that they can stay. They can stay in with good teams. You know what I mean?
I stand by it. I don't think the Eagles are that great according to their record. Now, granted, they played great against the Dolphins when it came to Jalen Hurts' decision making. I mean, I know he had his mistakes, but overall he was moving the ball downfield. There was good route running. I think it's a different outcome if the penalties were fair across the board. If there weren't so many no calls against Philly.
I think it definitely would have been closer. I think absolutely they played a part, but I don't think it's the reason they lost.
But I'm not convinced that I'm not on that train that everybody else is on with everyone saying how great Philly is because I could pull the whole Shannon Sharp thing where I watch the game without the sound on and I use my eyes. They just don't look that good. They really don't. They really don't look that good. But they somehow make it through the end of the game.
They do somehow find a way to make it out the game. I'm the exact same way, but with the Dolphins. I've only really seen them play two teams that are really competitive, and they've lost both games. Granted of circumstance. I'm the exact same way with the Dolphins.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. I think there's still a lot to be seen moving forward between the two teams. Really by the big three, 49ers, Dolphins, and Eagles.
That's. I don't know if I consider the Dolphins the big three. The big three would probably be the Niners, the Eagles, and the Chiefs. I think that's the big three, but they're in there. They're in there for teams to watch. Absolutely. Elmo, Vince. I don't know if you guys got anything to say on the matter.
Nope, I agreed with you. Penalties, yes. There were plenty that should have been called that weren't, but again, I agree. Wasn't the reason they lost. The Eagles' comeback really came halfway through third quarter is when it kind of started. But yeah, the holding call you brought up is what I brought up to Big originally. He was not only talking about Phillips, just to clarify. He was not only double teamed, but Lane Johnson hooked him around the neck completely, and he still got sacked. So, other than that, yeah, I agree with what you said. I don't really have a whole lot to add.
Okay, well then, if Elmo doesn't have anything else to say, I'll go into the next game.
I'll say that a bad officiating has kind of been the going theme this week. I think in
Absolutely.
a couple games.
100%.
But I mean,
100%.
I feel like bad officiating kind of just taken a hold on the NFL in general.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's just really shined this week.
Obviously, what do you say?
I don't know what he said, but I agree.